Am I the asshole here? My husband gave me a warning tap, and I called it abuse. As I'm sitting here writing this, I'm in bed at my mom's house. She's next to me, helping me sort through everything that's happened because, honestly, my mind still feels like it's spinning. I need some outside opinions because the longer I sit with it, the more unreal it feels, like maybe I'm overreacting, or maybe I'm not reacting enough. I don't even know anymore. I'm 24, and my husband is 30. We've been together for 3 years and married for 1. Everything was fine, or at least I thought it was, until about a week ago. It's crazy how fast things can change, how one moment can completely flip your perception of someone you thought you knew. It started over something so stupid, his phone. He misplaced it while I was in the shower, and when I came out, he was already mid-meltdown. He was storming around the room, yanking up pillows, throwing blankets, muttering under his breath, and then snapping at me the second I opened the bathroom door. "Where did you put it? Have you seen it?" His voice was sharp, and his eyes were wild, like I had deliberately hidden it just to mess with him. I told him I hadn't touched it, and that I needed to get dressed, but he wasn't listening. He just kept pacing and ranting. He was standing in the doorway, digging around behind the door like maybe it had slipped down there, but the way he was standing meant I couldn't get past him. I asked him to move, calmly at first, just, "Hey, can you scoot so I can get by?" But he ignored me. So I said it again, louder this time, "Hello? Move, please?" Apparently that set him off. He turned around and shoved me back into the room, hard enough that I stumbled and had to catch myself on the dresser. I just stood there for a second, completely stunned, and said, "Okay, you need to calm down. I can help you look, but I need to get dressed first." Instead of calming down, he barked, "Hurry up," like I was one of his employees or a kid who had just been caught misbehaving. That's when I snapped. I told him, "I'm not gonna hurry up. It isn't my fucking fault you lost your phone." And then it happened. He turned around and hit me. Just like that. The back of his hand, right across my mouth. It wasn't even that hard. It didn't leave a mark or anything, but it was enough to knock the breath out of me for a second. I just froze. I couldn't believe it had actually happened. When I finally found my voice, I said, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And do you know what he said? He called it a warning tap. Like it was nothing. Like it was normal. He said it was because of my attitude, and that maybe now I'd learned to watch my tone. I didn't even argue. I just grabbed my bag, walked past him, and left. I called my mom from the car, and she told me to come straight over. I've been here ever since. The next day, my brother went with me to pick up a few things from our apartment, and that's when my husband cornered me. He was pacing again, this time in the living room, asking if I was really blowing this out of proportion. I told him, "Yeah, it's necessary when you abuse your wife." And he lost it. He screamed at me, actually screamed, that I couldn't use that word. He said I could ruin his career if people found out. That if I told anyone important, it would destroy him. I didn't even know what to say. He wasn't worried about me or about what he'd done. He was worried about himself. About his reputation. The texts started after that. Pages of them. He said he'd divorce me if I ever used that word again, and that if I tried to paint him as an abuser, he'd make sure I regretted it. He said I was dramatic and overreacting, and that I was making a big deal out of nothing. But how could it be nothing? He hit me. That's not nothing, right? And what scares me the most is that I keep replaying it over and over in my head, and I can't stop wondering, what if I hadn't left? What if I had stayed and let him smooth things over? Because now that I've had time to think about it, I keep seeing all these little things I ignored before. Like how he always had to be in control. How he'd snap at me if I interrupted him or rolled my eyes during an argument. How he made me feel small without even raising his voice, until he did. And now I can't help but think, was this just the first time? Or was it only the first time he hit me hard enough for me to notice? And the texts keep coming. Some of them are angry. Some of them are sweet. He tells me he loves me and wants me to come home. Then he threatens to divorce me if I talk. Then he says he's sorry and that it'll never happen again. Then he says it wasn't even real abuse. I don't know what to do. Part of me feels guilty, like maybe I'm blowing it out of proportion. But then I think about how scared I felt, how he looked at me when he hit me, and I can't shake it. I can't stop picturing what happens if I let him convince me to come home. What happens the next time he gets angry? And what if next time it does hurt? Am I the arsehole? Few comments from Redditors. 1. When my boyfriend couldn't find his phone, he asked me to call him, like a normal person. 2. Because he's cheating on her, and he thinks she could potentially know something, so he's panicking. 3. Yes, this OP. A rattlesnake warns you by shaking its rattles before it bites you and inflicts a poisoned wound. A domestic abuser warns you with a little backhand smack across the mouth that doesn't really hurt before he knocks out teeth and leaves you with bruises and broken bones. Be smart, leave the rattlesnake and the abuser alone as soon as they warn you. For this, stay at your mom's, talk to whoever you want about whatever you want. Threatening to divorce you over something he did, saying it will ruin him, he lost his phone, he struck you, and then threatened to do it worse next time. I promise you, if you stay with him, you will find yourself tiptoeing around him every day, never knowing when that anger will show itself again. Since the first time it happened, it was BC he couldn't find his phone. Praying for you, and sending hugs. 5. NTA. You file the divorce paperwork first. He hit you. First it's a warning tap, next it's a black eye, or worse. You wouldn't be ruining his career, he would be doing that himself by abusing his wife. 6. This won't get better, block his number, keep the texts and call a lawyer today. 7. Yes, screenshot the texts and email them to your mom for evidence in your divorce. Please listen to all these posts. That is not a man that loves and cherishes you. Get out of that house and join a battered women's group for your own support. You do not want to repeat this pattern. Please take everyone's advice and take care of yourself. 8. You're exactly right. That is abuse. F him and his career. 3. Sound like there might be some adultery. To get that angry over a phone being lost. If walks like duck, quacks like a duck, it's a damn duck. Get a restraining order. Get a lawyer. Divorce his ass. I have been in an abuse relationship with kids. It all started like that. It only gets worse. I'm a domestic abuse survivor. Please don't go back. 9. NTA. It was abuse. Putting hands on someone isn't abuse only if it breaks skin or hurts at a 7+ on the pain scale. He shoved you, then he hit you. That is abuse. If he didn't want his career destroyed over this, then he shouldn't have raised his hands. He made bad choices. He must face consequence. Also, little question for him. If he isn't abusive, what was the warning tap hit to the face a warning of? Was he warning you he was going to tickle you, or that more violence was coming? Warnings are the thing that comes before the big bad scary, so his warning abuse was a warning of more abuse. Congratulations on your abusive SDBX agreeing to divorce. Please publicly destroy his career and save the next woman. 10. I want to make it really clear that he's hit her in the face and then told her it was a warning. A warning that next time he will beat you. It's not a warning for a strongly worded letter. It's a warning that he hit you this time and he'll hit you again, but make it a full-on beating. Divorce. She needs to act like everything is fine and get her affairs in order. First thing is to contact a domestic abuse charity who can help her safely leave. 11. NTA. He not only hit you with intent, physical abuse, no matter if it hurt or not, but he's minimizing your concerns out of fear for his career. Then proceeds to threaten divorce. Over what? A lost phone? Red flags galore. There has to be underlying tension that caused this incident. If not, an even bigger red flag. 12. Yeah, not only does he hit her, but he then starts with the threats to try and keep her mouth shut. The man is more concerned about his job and reputation than he is about smacking his wife in the face. It doesn't matter that it didn't hurt, that's just blind luck. Next time, and there will be a next time, it will hurt. There's only one direction from a warning tap, and it ain't down. Let him threaten divorce. It sounds more like a relief than a threat. Never tolerate being hit by your partner. That is gone for good behavior. 13. Yep, that's exactly how abuse starts. It will get worse until you're at the point where those are just the mild warm-up appetizers, so you know the hitting, choking, etc. will come later. Shout out to my parents showing me what a healthy relationship absolutely does not look like, lol. 14. Run while you still can. No one responding to you in this thread is overreacting. It will escalate, and he will work harder and harder to isolate and demean you. Don't let him. Get out. Don't fall for any love bombing he may try in desperation. Don't be alone with him. He knows how the system works better than most, and that makes him even more dangerous. You're young. You're obviously strong and bright. Protect yourself and divorce as cleanly and quickly as you can. Onward and upward, friend. Stay safe. 15. NTA. He doesn't understand that shoving and actual hitting is abuse? WTF? Light him up. Absolutely. Save the next woman. P.S. I read an interesting long-term sociological study of abusers a few years back. Want to know the intervention that works best for preventing repetition of abusive behavior? Legal consequences. Better than any kind of therapy or other intervention. That's the thing that actually gets them to change the behavior. 16.nta. He screamed at you, shoved you and hit you in the mouth. And then he called it a warning tap, presumably meaning that if he didn't like how you were talking or your attitude, he'd hit you harder. That's abuse by any definition of the word. He wasn't stricken at you using the word abuse, he was angry, because abusing his wife is apparently not good for his career. Mind you, he's not sorry he screamed at you, shoved you, hit you, and threatened you. He's mad that he might get into trouble for it. Have your brother pack the rest of your things, file for divorce, and if anyone asks why, tell them he started abusing you, because that's the truth. If he's worried that being accused of abusing his wife would be bad for his career, he could have tried not screaming at you, shoving you, hitting you, and threatening to hit you harder. 17. My wife and I have an agreement that if I ever hit her, there will be a divorce. We've been married over a decade. Needless to say, I've never been tempted to hit her, but not because of the divorce threat. It's because I'm not a piece of shit. Hitting your wife because you're frustrated and can't find your phone. Yeah, that's abusive. Also, being that upset about misplacing your phone. Yeah, that throws up red flags, and not just because of the hitting. To clarify, the agreement was more a statement of her intention if I ever got abusive. But she understands it goes both ways. I would not put up with it either. But it has never been tested. Neither of us is a POS who'd abuse our spouse. Her background has abuse in it. I think it's not abnormal for people to draw lines in the sand when they have suffered in the past. If your spouse hits you, regardless of your gender, you need to start packing your bags and get out. That behavior should never be tolerated by either gender. 18. Absolutely not. You're not the asshole. I'm so sorry you're going through this, but let me make one thing very clear. What he did was abuse. It doesn't have to leave bruises to count as abuse. Physical violence, no matter how minor he tries to make it seem, is a huge red flag. And the fact that he's more concerned about his career than the fact that he hit his wife says everything you need to know about him. He's manipulating you now, trying to make you doubt yourself and feel guilty for calling it what it is. Don't fall for it. You did the right thing by leaving, and you need to stay gone. People like this don't stop, they escalate. First, it's a slap. Next, it's a punch. And before you know it, you're walking on eggshells, terrified of setting him off again. Trust your gut here. Protect yourself, and please don't let him guilt trip you into coming back. 19. He hit you, OP. He laid his hands on you. Stop questioning yourself. This isn't some misunderstanding. He hit you, and then he tried to downplay it as a warning tap like that's even a thing. That's abuse. That's controlling behavior. That's manipulation. You're not overreacting, and you're not wrong for calling it out. Also, threatening you with divorce if you ruin his career by telling the truth? That's not a partner. That's someone who's worried about his image, not your safety. Run. Get legal advice. File a report if you can. Protect yourself before this gets worse. Because it will get worse. 20. First off, I'm so sorry you're going through this. I know this must feel overwhelming, but you're not wrong for feeling the way you do. Abuse isn't just about pain. It's about control, fear, and disrespect, and your husband crossed every single line. You need to protect yourself now. Document everything, his texts, what he said, what he did. Keep screenshots. Write down what happened in detail while it's fresh in your mind. If you decide to move forward with legal action, this will help. I'd also recommend talking to a lawyer or a domestic violence support group for advice on your next steps. Whatever you do, don't let him gaslight you into thinking you're in the wrong here. You deserve better. 21. OP, I understand why you're questioning yourself, but I think you already know this isn't okay. He hit you. That's a boundary that no one should ever cross. But what's even scarier is how he reacted afterward. He didn't apologize. He didn't reflect. He threatened you and tried to make himself the victim. That's the behavior of someone who thinks they can do whatever they want without consequences. I don't know if you're ready to call it quits completely, but please don't go back without serious counseling. If you even decide to go back at all. People like this don't change without real work, and even then, the risk is high. Be safe, okay? 22. I was in a relationship like this, and it started the exact same way. Small incidents that he tried to downplay. First it was a push, then a slap, then worse. I made excuses for him every step of the way, because I thought if I loved him enough, he'd stop. He didn't. By the time I left, I was unrecognizable, emotionally and physically. Please learn from my mistake. It doesn't matter if it didn't really hurt. It's not about pain, it's about control. You need to put yourself first and get out before it gets worse. 23. Your husband's actions meet the legal definition of abuse. You don't have to be hospitalized for it to count as domestic violence. His behavior, shoving you, slapping you, and then threatening you, shows a clear pattern of aggression and manipulation. Document everything, talk to a lawyer, and consider filing a restraining order if you feel unsafe. Also, don't fall for the career manipulation. If he's so concerned about his reputation, maybe he shouldn't have put his hands on you in the first place. 24. This is why so many women stay in abusive relationships, because society conditions us to second-guess ourselves when men mistreat us. Your husband didn't just hit you. He tried to control the narrative afterward to make you doubt your own reality. That's what abusers do. You're stronger than this. You left once, keep going. Don't let him manipulate you into thinking his career matters more than your safety. You deserve better than a man who sees you as property to be disciplined. 25. Oh my God, I'm so sorry this happened to you. No, you're not overreacting, and you're not the bad guy here. He hit you, and then tried to make you feel guilty about how his actions might affect him. That's not love. That's manipulation. I know it's scary to think about leaving completely, but I think you need to. People who love you don't hit you. They don't shove you or scream at you. They don't turn your feelings into weapons to control you. Please talk to someone, whether it's a therapist, a friend, or a domestic violence advocate. You deserve support. 26. If you were my daughter, I'd be begging you not to go back. It doesn't matter if it didn't really hurt. What matters is that he felt comfortable enough to hit you and then tried to excuse it. What happens next time? Will it be worse? You're young, and you have your whole life ahead of you. Don't let this man make you feel trapped. You deserve love, respect, and safety, not someone who treats you like an emotional punching bag. 27. You need to hear this loud and clear. You did the right thing by leaving. It doesn't matter if it didn't hurt or if he called it a warning tap. He hit you. That's abuse. Period. The fact that he's more concerned about his career than your safety or feelings tells you everything you need to know about his priorities. Don't let his manipulation work. He's threatening divorce because he's trying to scare you into silence, not because he's genuinely hurt or remorseful. You're young, and you have time to rebuild your life without him. Don't wait around for this to escalate. File for divorce before he does, and protect yourself legally. 28. Oh no. How dare you call it abuse when your loving husband just shoved you, hit you, and threatened you for daring to have an attitude? I mean, clearly, it's your fault for not bowing down and immediately finding his precious phone, right? /S. Get out of there and stay out. He's not worried about your feelings. He's worried about his image and keeping his little secret under wraps. You owe him nothing. Call it abuse because that's what it is. Protect yourself and let him deal with the consequences of his own actions. 29. I can't imagine how hard this must be for you right now. It sounds like you're dealing with a lot of emotions, shock, anger, and maybe even guilt. But please don't let him make you feel bad for telling the truth. Abuse isn't always dramatic. It doesn't have to leave bruises to count. What he did, shoving you, hitting you, and then blaming you, is classic abuse. Take time to process this, but keep yourself safe. Don't go back unless you feel 100% sure that he's taken responsibility and gotten professional help. And even then, be careful. Most abusers escalate, and you don't deserve to live in fear of what might happen next time. 30. This is emotional and painful, but let's focus on the facts for a second. He physically assaulted you, verbally threatened you, and is now attempting to intimidate you into silence to protect his career. All of that? It's abuse, physical, emotional, and psychological. You need to document everything, the texts, the threats, and the incident itself. If you decide to pursue legal action or divorce, this will help protect you. Don't let his career guilt trip you into silence. Actions have consequences, and he's responsible for his, not you. 31. Let's take a step back and look at the situation rationally. Your husband lost his phone, panicked, and took that stress out on you, verbally, physically, and emotionally. That behavior isn't normal, and it's not okay. What's even more alarming is his reaction afterward. Instead of showing remorse, he minimized it, justified it, and then threatened you. Even if this was the first time, it shows a pattern of control and escalation. These things rarely stay isolated incidents. You're right to call it abuse, because that's exactly what it is. Now the question is, Do you want to spend your life walking on eggshells around someone like that? 32. This hit me hard because I've been exactly where you are. My ex started with little things, snapping, pushing, then warning taps just like yours. It felt surreal, like it couldn't really be happening. I kept thinking maybe I was overreacting, but deep down, I knew I wasn't. It took me too long to leave, and by the time I did, I was emotionally drained and terrified. Please don't let it get that far for you. The fact that you're questioning yourself already means his manipulation is working. Don't let him talk you out of protecting yourself. Leaving was the right move, stay gone. 33. What you're describing is textbook abuse. It doesn't have to leave bruises to be damaging. Abusers often minimize their actions to make their victims doubt themselves, which is exactly what he's doing to you right now. I'd encourage you to talk to a therapist or counselor who specializes in domestic abuse. They can help you work through the trauma and reinforce that your feelings are valid. Abuse can mess with your sense of reality, and having professional guidance might help you stand firm in your decision. You deserve support and clarity during this time. 34. Holy crap, OP. He hit you. I don't care if it didn't leave a bruise, it left a message. That tap was his way of testing the waters, seeing if you'd accept that kind of treatment. And the fact that he doubled down and called it a warning? That's terrifying. You did the right thing by leaving. Don't let him gaslight you into thinking you're overreacting. And as for his career, too bad. If he didn't want his reputation ruined, maybe he shouldn't have hit his wife. That's on him, not you. 35. This is about more than just this one incident. It's about patterns. What happens the next time he loses something, or you use the wrong tone? Do you really want to stick around and find out? You need to think long-term here. If he's already showing signs of anger and control now, it's only going to escalate. Protect yourself legally, financially, and emotionally. Talk to a lawyer about your options. Even if he's threatening divorce, you might be better off filing first and taking control of the situation. 36. Opie, you are not crazy for calling this what it is. Abuse. No one has the right to put their hands on you, no matter how minor they try to make it seem. And don't let him make this about his career or reputation. That's not your responsibility. What is your responsibility? Taking care of yourself and making sure you're safe. Don't let his manipulation get to you. You've already shown strength by leaving once. Hold on to that and don't let him pull you back in. 37. You know who else used warnings to keep people in line? Dictators. That's not a joke. That's how power and fear are used to control people. What he did wasn't love, it was domination. He didn't tap you, he tried to own you in that moment. You're not overreacting. You're waking up. Keep walking away, and don't look back. You deserve so much better than a man who treats you like this. 38. This isn't just abuse, it's the beginning of something worse. What he did was a test. He wanted to see how far he could push you, and when you stood up for yourself, he panicked, not because he regretted hitting you, but because you named it. Abusers thrive in secrecy, and the fact that you spoke the truth scares him more than anything. The most dangerous time for someone leaving an abusive partner is right after they leave. Please don't ignore how serious this is. Get somewhere safe. File a report if you can. Change your locks if you go back for anything, and make sure someone is with you. This isn't over for him, and you need to treat this situation like the danger it is. 39. I guarantee this isn't the first time he's shown you who he really is. It's just the first time he hit you. Go back through your memories. Think about how he's treated you during arguments before. Did he yell? Did he call you names? Did he sulk or punish you with silence? This tap isn't new behavior, it's the next step. He doesn't care about your feelings, he cares about damage control. He's worried you'll tell someone important because it'll make him look bad. Let him worry. You need to be worrying about yourself. You're not crazy. You're not dramatic. You're right. 40. Maybe this was a one-time thing? Not excusing it, but some people do snap under stress and lose control. He might feel horrible about it, but is too proud or embarrassed to admit it. If you feel safe, maybe have a serious talk with him about counseling or anger management. That said, if he refuses to take responsibility or keeps shifting blame, then you need to run. People make mistakes, but patterns are different. You'll know soon enough if this was a mistake or the start of something worse. 41. Marriage is supposed to be built on love, trust, and respect. When one person lays hands on the other, that trust is shattered. God doesn't call us to endure abuse in the name of preserving a marriage. He calls us to value ourselves as His creation. I'd pray for clarity and strength, but I'd also seek professional counseling and guidance. Sometimes love means walking away to protect yourself and allowing the other person to face the consequences of their sin. 42. Okay, let's break this down. He lost his phone and immediately turned the situation into your fault. Then he escalated, yelling, snapping, and physically blocking you from leaving. That alone shows controlling behavior. When you stood up for yourself, he lashed out physically. And then instead of apologizing, he justified it and tried to make you the villain for naming what he did. Everything about this screams calculated control. So the question isn't whether you're overreacting. The question is, how far are you willing to let this go before you stop doubting yourself? Because trust me, this won't stop here. 43. Girl, what? He hit you and called it a warning tap. Like he's training a dog? I don't care if it didn't hurt. It's not normal for husbands to slap their wives because they're pissed about a phone. And now he's blowing up your phone with threats. That's not just red flags. That's the whole damn carnival. You already left once. Stay gone. Get a lawyer. He can deal with his own career problems, not your problem. 44. This is how it starts. I know you said it didn't hurt, but don't underestimate what just happened. It's never about the first hit. It's about what comes next. He's testing you. He's pushing boundaries to see how much you'll tolerate, and now that you're pushing back, he's panicking. This isn't guilt, it's damage control. If you let him talk you into coming back, he'll feel emboldened. It might not happen right away, but next time, it'll be worse. And there will be a next time. 45. I seriously cannot wrap my head around how some men act like this and still think they deserve protection from the fallout. He physically assaulted you, threatened you, and is now scared of losing his career. That's his problem, not yours. And let's be honest, if he cared about his career, he wouldn't be out here hitting his wife like a caveman. Actions have consequences, and if he's worried about fallout, maybe he should have thought about that before he decided to put his hands on you. 46. If you were my daughter, I'd tell you to stay as far away